I wanted to recite a poem that I wrote. It's the first cowboy poem I ever wrote. I've never changed a word to it. It's not very polished, but I thought, you know what, that was a gift from God. When I finished it, I thought, that's a gift from God. I'm not changing anything. I suppose for a story to have any impact, it's got to have a name. And this one's called The Line Shack. You see, this is the story of an old cowboy I once knew, and as I recall, the year I met him, he just turned 82. And he walked sort of hunched over, and his pace was fairly, and he wore his hat down low, and his hips must have hurt him because his pace was fairly slow. But as far as I know, old Bill never shirked a task. He'd fix fence or milk a cow or do whatever else you'd ask. And early each spring when the meadowlarks came back, old Bill would get ready to head up to the old line shack. You see, it was Bill's job after a long winter would pass to trail cattle to the high country to graze the green grass. Oh, he'd stay up there all summer in that old line shack, and each fall the ranch hands would bet whether or not old Bill would even make it back. But this spring, instead of one pack mule, old Bill caught up two, and he told me to gather my gear. He had something for me to do. You see, the foreman had told Bill he could take me with him this spring. So while he trailed all the cattle, I led the pack string. And it was a 3-day ride to get back in the hills, and as we got closer, I noticed a change in coming over old Bill. His old red, watery eyes just seemed to get clearer, and I hadn't seen him that happy or peaceful the whole past year. Now, we spent a lot of nights in that old line shack. Bill would sit and read stories from the Bible of a long time back. And the summer seemed to go by awfully quick, and before I knew it, ice was forming along the edge of the creek, and it was late in the fall and time to get ready to go. But I sensed there was something Bill wanted me to know. So I asked him this question late one night. I said, Bill, what is it about this place that just seems so right? Well, he said he didn't think I had noticed, as a matter of fact, and then he proceeded to tell me about the old line shack. He said, you're the first person in 40 years besides myself that's hung your hat and coat and spurs there on that shelf. So I'll tell you the story, and here's the amazing part. This ain't just a regular old line shack, son. It's the top of Noah's Ark. Well, I just sit there, stared into his face, and then he picked up his lantern and said, come on, I'll show you the place. And in the lantern's faint light, we walked quite a ways, and then we eased down to a hole lit by the lantern's rays. And old Bill pushed back some bushes and a few aspen limbs, and then he ducked out of sight. So I followed him in. And it took a minute for my eyes to adjust to the light. We were in a huge room. I'd never seen such a sight. There were ramps to 3 different levels, all filled with stalls. And with tears in my eyes, I could barely comprehend it all. And I touched the smooth, curved planks as Bill led me around. And it was strange but obvious that we were standing on holy ground. And in the lantern's faint light, I saw a glow around his face as I asked him how long he'd known about this place. He said an old cowboy had showed it to him back in '53, and now he was sharing his long-kept secret. Well, as you might imagine, I didn't sleep much that night, and heck, I was staring at the ceiling when it broke daylight. And wouldn't you know, old Bill died there in his sleep, all alone in the dark. But I thank God the old cowboy had showed me the ark. And I buried my old friend, feeling sad he was dead, but then I remembered last spring just what he'd said. You see, he had told me there was something he wanted me to do, and I realized right then that something was to accept Christ and believe that the Bible was true. You see, till then I'd had a hard time believing about God the Father and the entire reason that He gave up His only Son so that I might join the ranks of the faithful ones. And now I know that Christ died for my sins. And I tell you, the ark was proof that faith comes from within. And I know it must have been Noah's faith that saved him from the flood. And now I find comfort in knowing that I'm washed in Christ's blood. Thank you for your prayers. I appreciate it.